Not only was the featured fight a last-minute swapperoo with two guys that weren't on this card 2.5 weeks ago, but now are, so is the co-main event. Brian Ortega and Diego Lopes were not anywhere near this card. It wasn't even a possibility. Brian Ortega was planning on going up in weight and fighting at the Sphere in September. And he ended up on this card last minute. Conor McGregor dropped. And the UFC looked at the fight card and they said, oh, this thing sucks. We can't just replace the main event. We've got to do a little more work. So they put this fight together. This is a very good fight.
The story about that, it was on the embedded. Obviously, they first called Diego, and I think Diego was like, they asked me, can you help us here? And Diego was like, hey, I'm down for whatever. I guess the funny part is Brian Ortega said he saw Hunter Campbell somewhere, I think at the I can't remember where he was. And it was he saw Hunter Campbell. Hunter Campbell was like, you're looking good. And Brian was like, I knew there was something more behind that, because the next day they offered him the fight, and obviously he took it to help everyone out or whatever. But he's like, I saw Hunter Campbell, and he was like, yeah, you're looking good. And he's like, I felt like there was something behind that comment.
Yeah, that is funny. Well, and now here he is fighting Diego Lopes in a co-main event. This is a great fight. I'm very excited for this fight. This was a very positive addition to this fight card. This helped boost the card because we have two very high-level grapplers, one sort of at the tail end of his career and one just starting his. The hype is dying out on one and the hype is building on another. We got Brian Ortega, 16-3 in his career. I was surprised writing that out. I was like, how does he only have 3 losses? I feel like I've watched him lose a lot. But those losses are recently, once he worked his way to the top and started to get the title shot. He is 2-3 in his last 5, though. Those are very recent losses. As far as his career is concerned, there was some time off with injuries, but he is coming off that very exciting come-from-behind victory over Yair Rodriguez. He's taking on Diego Lopes. Diego Lopes is 24-6 in his career, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off a KO win at UFC 300, where he was also added last minute. Brian Ortega, as we all know, insanely durable and a phenomenal grappler in his own right. He does have some technical striking. It's not great, but he has some good offensive striking. His defense kind of sucks. He's hit with almost 7 significant strikes per minute, which is a ton. There are a lot of strikes that he gets blasted with, but he's so tough and he's so durable, it doesn't even matter. He continues to move forward. He continues to try to make stuff happen. He famously dropped and almost finished Alexander Volkanovski with a mounted guillotine in that title fight. But since then, he's been in a couple of wars, took a couple of beatings. He's not the most athletic guy, but he certainly is one of the most durable and one of the more dangerous ones. He's taking on Diego Lopes, a dangerous grappler in his own right. He's a very young guy who's very young in his career and somehow coaching some of the better fighters at Lobo Gym in Mexico. He doesn't have very good takedowns or very good takedown defense. And you would say, oh, a BJJ guy, he needs takedowns. He needs takedown defense. Not really, because he's got phenomenal hands as well. He just knocked out Sadiq Youssef in the clinch, and Sadiq was supposed to be the better striker. He knocked out Gavin Tucker at distance, and Gavin Tucker was supposed to be the better striker. His only UFC loss, well, he has 2 UFC losses. One was on the Contender Series to Joe Anderson Barritu, who had to wrestle him and couldn't finish him. And then the other was...
I love Barritu.
And then the other was to Movsar Evloev on short notice, who just took him down, rode him out. He did have a little bit of success there with an attempted submission or 2. But the reality is Diego Lopes is a problem for anybody who can't just take him down and elbows in, stay safe. And I think this is a problem for Brian Ortega. I think Brian Ortega took this fight because they gave him a boatload of cash and he's just a gamer. Brian Ortega is a sweet dude who has no quit in him whatsoever. That Yair Rodriguez fight, he got the shit kicked out. He probably gave up a 10-8 and then survived, came back, and then got the finish in his own right. I think Brian Ortega is going to show up, look a little older, look a little slower, and somebody like Diego Lopes with the swag that he's got going on right now, he just has like swagger right now. Like there's not a single thing about, he's not worried about anything. He shows up smiling, ready to go. He's got power in his hands. He's got slick jiu-jitsu. Like there's just an energy about him that you feel like this guy's going to do something big. I am picking Diego Lopes. I did bet on him, and you could get even better value now. I got him at -150. The dude's -126. The line is tightening, and I can understand that. Brian Ortega, whatever. I thought the line would widen when he was like, yeah, I didn't plan on fighting till September, and I was going to be a lightweight. The dude was doing nothing as far as, like, he's squarely focused on cutting a shit ton of weight right now. And I don't know if you saw Diego Lopez's pictures floating around on Twitter and Instagram. He is
training.
Enormous. So Diego Lopez is my pick, and I do have a full-blown money line bet on him. What do you think, Jakey Boom Balats?
Yeah, that dude is absolutely he's always training, always into it. I actually knew that he was going to take this fight before it was announced because I saw on his Instagram for morning one morning he was eating just a slice of bread and a cup of coffee, and I screenshot it and said to Angela, I said, "Oh, he's probably going to be in one of these fights because he is cutting weight." That was a few weeks ago. He must have just got the call and immediately started cutting weight. And Angela's like, "He's eating bread. He's not cutting weight. He's not taking
to have fight. Carbs that close to your fight is insane."
It's 3 weeks out.
It was not 3 weeks out. This fight hasn't even been booked for 3 weeks.
It was 3 weeks out. It's still a week until the fight. It was 2 weeks ago.
It was like a week and a half ago.
Listen, this fight or this card in general completely flipped around to where the co-main and the main event are going to be so much fun because everyone loves I don't know if anyone really hates Brian Ortega, right? You like Brian Ortega? I like Brian Ortega. He's a fun guy. He's an easy guy to root for. He's been through ups and downs and really kind of come out on top. That actually was a cool moment. I was all over Yair in that fight for good reason, right? I mean, he basically beat the shit out of Brian Ortega and then ended up just getting tired. It was cool to see Brian Ortega have that moment, right? He talked about the eagle and the talent and all this stuff, that overcoming everything in his life, whatever. Everyone loves Brian Ortega. Obviously, everyone loves Diego Lopez as well. You see the main event. People love Jiri. People love Alex. Obviously, there's a lot of back and forth on these fights, but these are beloved fighters. I love Brian Ortega, but Diego's my dude, man. I mean, Diego is my dude. This is a former lock of the week. I absolutely adore and love Diego, not only as a fighter, but as a person as well. He's just seems like the coolest guy in the world. Hopefully, we have a chance to somewhat run into him at some point when we're in Vegas here this week. But I just believe that Brian Ortega has gotten away with being a punching bag and almost in a Charles Oliveira type of way of using defensive jiu-jitsu to kind of be able to recover, kind of be able to do this or whatever that, and he can't really be finished on the feet, and then nobody really wants to go to the ground with him. I promise you this, if Diego hurts this guy and Brian Ortega wants to fuck around on the ground, I know that he's T-City and he's this triangle guy and he's known as this jiu-jitsu guy. This guy, Diego Lopez, is a different fucking level. He is going to beat Brian to every single spot on the ground. I think he is the more powerful striker on the feet. Obviously, Diego's been clipped before, right? He's been hurt before, and Brian can definitely return fire, but Diego is just so fast, man. And you saw the speed of Yair really give issues to Brian. If that's the same type of fight, and Diego brings that same type of speed and those same type of shots with maybe even more power than Yair, and Brian tries to start grappling to save himself like he did against Yair, he's going to lose the grappling as well. I like Diego here. I respect everything that Ortega brings into the octagon, the toughness, everything. You know, he seems like a great dude. But that's my dude, Diego, man. And like I said, Brazil's going undefeated on this card. This is going to be 4 of 4, Diego Lopez. Or 5 of 5 if you include Bueno Silva.
Yeah, listen, I don't disagree. Obviously, Brian Ortega is a guy that you just can't count out. And this could look like last week's main event. This could look like, there's levels to this, and the young prospect isn't going to get it done. And this could look like Robert Whittaker knocking out Alice Kirov. I doubt it, and that's why I bet my money. I did not bet on Ikram Aliskirov. I did not trust that. I trusted Robert Whittaker too much.
Could you imagine betting against Bobby Knuckles? Could you imagine?
That'd be so dumb.
That is crazy. Yeah, and let me say, too, because I don't want to seem like I'm just all over Diego no matter what. I was very... Please be careful against Sadiq Youssef because Sadiq has real power and Diego can get a little bit reckless. So I was going into that fight like, man, I don't know about Diego against Sadiq. And he fucking smoked his ass. So it's like, all right, here we go, Diego. I'm all in now.
In the clinch. Knocked him out in the clinch. It was impressive. And he didn't care. He just engaged. Came forward, engaged. So he wasn't worried about the power. He wasn't worried about the striking. And it's that swagger that I think will help him here. Brian Ortega is too chill of a guy, honestly. I think Diego Lopez is just going to beat his face, make something happen. $8,400 in DraftKings. I like it. I have the money line bet on him. Wish I waited, but it is what it is. I'm surprised when Brian Ortega was very public about his plans to change. I thought this would widen, but he's the name. he's the veteran, and he's getting the money, and that makes sense.
Yeah, and I keep seeing. Yeah, and let me just say too. I believe he's going to 155 no matter what after this fight. So his heart is set on, which means this cut this week is going to fucking suck. I guarantee when he accepted at 155, the first thing he thought about was like, oh my God, I don't have to cut so much weight. Now, if he's already going to 155 afterwards, he knows this is the last time I'm cutting weight. It's like, oh God, I can't believe I'm doing this again. Can't wait to be at 155. And people keep saying there's somebody in the chat right now, Ortega's going to sub him. Guys, I don't think you guys understand how good Diego Lopes is. And just, if this is a jiu-jitsu match, Diego Lopes fucking smokes Brian Ortega. So I would be careful getting caught up in like the T-City, he almost guillotined Volkanovski type of stuff. Diego's fucking really good. I think his family is like world known in like Brazil as like coral belts and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's an exciting fight. It's a great addition to this card. I am looking forward to it. I will spend the $8,400 in DraftKings. You need some of those mid-price guys. And Diego Lopes, to me, seems like a great guy at this price point. 4-1 in his last 5. That one loss was a wrestling match, and that's not what we're going to get here. So all aboard the Lopes train. If you do want to unlock all the picks, the bets, the round line leans, the tools, and everything else that we offer, it's only $10 a month. A month. And the UFC, I just looked at their schedule now. We have UFC 303, then the Denver card, and then there's a whole slew of other cards, including the England pay-per-view. And this entire summer, they said there was like 12 events over 14 weeks. There's only 2 breaks the rest of the summer, leading all the way past the Sphere card. $10 a month, WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top.